Hello and welcome to the Reef Talk Extra channel. Now I recently got asked to share my settings for my Refactory Reef Flare Pro Full Spectrum, which is the light I've had running for about 18 months on my Waterbox Frag 55.2. Now I've got that light dialed in exactly how I want it, and I think it makes the tank look absolutely fantastic. So I'm happy to share those settings with you today, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So here we are in the settings tab. Now, if you want to start from scratch, what you're going to want to do is click on each time point at the bottom, then click edit and click the delete button, and just do that for every single time point. So you've got a completely blank canvas. All I'm going to do now then is show you my settings. So the first time point I have is 10:30 a.m. Now I have this on a 12-hour schedule, so the lights come on at 10:30 a.m. and go off at 10:30 p.m. If you want the lights, or whatever time you want the lights to start, that is when you need to have your first setting, and you want to have the first setting at 0% for everything. So if you want your lights to start coming on at 10 a.m. and start ramping up from 10 a.m, your first setting is 0% for everything, and the time point is 10:30. My next setting then, because I want a nice gentle blue ramp up, my next setting is an hour later at 11:30, and I have UV, violet, indigo and blue at 40% with red, green and white at 0%. And that gives me a nice gentle wake up in the morning so as not to shock any corals or fish. And also it looks quite good for me. My next time point, and this is when my lights are on, this is basically what the lights look like for most of the day. So that's when my ramp up period ends, and I have that ending at 12:30, and this is what it looks like. So I have UV at 100%, violet at 100%, indigo at 100%, blue at 100%, green at 95%, red at 0%. I do find it doesn't look that great if you have red on this light, and white at just 5%. Now 5% might sound really low, but it gives a really nice look, still quite bright and white, so you can still get to see your corals during the daylight and still get to see your fish during the daylight as well. It looks really natural, it just gives this really crisp, nice look. My next time point then, and yours might be slightly different. So most people would have a time period throughout the day when their lights are at their highest intensity of about 7 hours. I don't have that. I finish at 4:30, so I've got just 4.5 hours. On most tanks, I would have that this next time point at 7:30 p.m. So then there's a good 7 hours of full intensity. But on this, because this is in my home office, I like to be able to see the lights ramping down at the end of the day when I can start to enjoy my aquarium and then start to enjoy it looking a bit bluer. But with that being said then, my next time intensity point is the same as the last one. So this is what you set. You set the start and end point exactly the same at the point at which you want your lights to be at their absolute peak throughout the day. So again, UV, violet, indigo and blue 100%, green 95%, red 0%, white just 5%. And then because I want my lights to ramp down after that, my next time point is 5 o'clock. And at that point, basically all I really do is shut the whites off and the greens, so we're just on blue lights. I also dial down the blue slightly, which is 80%. Indigo, violet and UV are all set to 100%. And that gives you a nice blue look. So this is probably when the tank looks its best, certainly in terms of coral fluorescence. My next time point then is 7 o'clock. And the 7 o'clock time point is because I want to get rid of the UV and violet, which are both at 0%, and I want indigo at 100% and blue at 70%, with green, red and white obviously at 0%. And that is what I find looks absolutely fantastic. I like the light to look ever so slightly different as the evening progresses, and my corals to give slightly different fluorescence. It's a really minor difference, but I think this is a really nice setting. And 7 o'clock is the time point because that's when I want my lights to start properly ramping down from. So my next time point then is 8:30, which is basically the time point I've selected to continue a nice smooth ramping down. UV 0, violet 0, indigo 50, blue 25, green, red and white 0. So then again, we're all in blues and it's just starting to ramp down gently towards the end of the evening. And the final time point I have is 10:30 p.m, which is everything set to 0. And you have everything set to 0 at whatever time point you want at the end of the day. And that is the point when the lights go off. So my first time point in the morning is 10:30 a.m. and that's when my lights come on at exactly 10:30 a.m. and exactly 10:30 p.m. is the time point when my lights turn off, and it actually does that every single day, 10:30 p.m. and 10:30 a.m. on the dot. The only other thing to show you is that my intensity is set to 60% for this. This is a 24 inch by 24 inch by 16 inch tall tank. And it's LPS dominated. I haven't done par tests on this since I've had these settings, so I can't tell you what the par is, but what I can tell you is You don't want to go any higher than this. If you're setting this light up for the first time, higher is more likely to shock your corals, so go as low as you possibly can, and if you have to, ramp it up slowly over time. But what I can also tell you is, whilst I haven't done par tests, the LPS corals in this tank look absolutely fantastic. They look really healthy, so I think that's a good setting. Whether it's the perfect setting is another matter, but it's a good setting for these lights. And if you want to ramp up to 60% eventually, just use the acclimation mode to do so nice and gently over the course of 30 days or so. Now I'm going to leave you with a video showing the tank with each time point up on the screen as well, so you can see exactly how it looks at each point during the day. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.